Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Lucky Dogs. We're here, we've got a great guest and a great mate of mine. I'm not sure if he's a mate of yours, Will, is he?
Yeah, I'd say we're mates. We've had some fun nights out over the years, yeah.
I reckon you two are about have the same personality on a night out, I reckon. Very similar.
That's probably true. I think Todd goes a little bit harder than me these days, though. But I didn't see you guys after Tailem Bend, see what the party was like. Was it any good?
No, but we are a bit of a light switch operator, I think, aren't we? So, but no, we behaved ourselves for Tailem Bend, so I think we might have to save it for Bathurst and boogie from there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't think we can let you go back to back at Bathurst. Winning Tailem Bend and Bathurst, that'd be a bit. You're asking a bit much there, I reckon.
Oh, you get greedy, don't you? So you get a taste of it, you just want to do it again. So we'll see how we go, but bring it on.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Obviously, pretty cool. We covered on it our last episode, Tailem Bend, but for yourself, that was pretty cool to win it. Off the start, when I saw you get a bit of an average start there, I thought, it might be a bit tough from there, but to drive back from 5th and get back to the lead was pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it was. It was just an awesome day behind the wheel. The car was a jet. Obviously working with someone like BK, he's the wizard behind the scenes of understanding how to get the most out of the car. And when I jumped in for that first stint, the car was a rocket ship. So, yeah, the worst part of the day was my start. So I'll cop that on the chin. So hopefully I've got my bad start out of the way because, going to Bathurst, that's the one you sweat about most. So, hopefully come Bathurst, starting the race there, it'll be a rocket ship. So we'll see how we go. But, to win on home soil, the family farm was just up the road from Tailem Bend, and to get my first race win with DJR as well, it's such an iconic team, and to now add your name to that little slice of history is really special. So, for me, it was a dream debut with the team, and, obviously it helps working with the sharp operator as well. So, great day.
That's true. Another thing we covered, and I was having a joke with you over there, but you had to, with the new driver weights, you had to beef up a bit, getting ready for it.
I know, it's ironic. It's the fattest I've ever been. It's Brodie's been feeding me meat pies all year this year. It's
what
been
have
insane.
You eaten? Is it like you miss I want to go out for a nice dinner, and you're like, KFC it is
load
tonight.
It up. Yeah. Don't get the schnitzel, I get the parmy. It's extra cheese. So it's funny how the rules have all unplayed this year, but obviously, we knew from the get-go that it was going to be somewhat of a disadvantage for us this year. So, Brodie's done his part. I've done my part. We sort of tried to meet in the middle a little bit. So, I think I've put on about 7 kilos since last year. So, still feel strong, still feel, lean under all this little bit of fat that I've got on me at the moment. So, post Bathurst, I might do a little shred so I can, get rid of that insecurity.
What do you do then if you like, I'm just thinking ahead. If you lean off after Bathurst and you and Brodie are driving again together next year, then you got to do it all again next year.
We'll see what rule change they make for next year, right? So it might all change again, but hopefully it'll work itself out. But I don't know. Maybe you need to lose a few more kilos, then we can sort of try and get closer and meet in the middle.
Oh, Fangio was the best driver ever. He was fat as well. So,
yeah.
And that's the fastest I've ever seen you.
Well, and that's true. Like, I reckon that the unfittest I've been is now, and I've been winning a fair bit. So I think maybe there's a method to the madness here. I've
been saying it for years.
Todd.
No one believes me. No one believes me.
So,
that's funny. Well, we'll get into some stuff that's happened.
I've got a serious question before we start. Who's the best driver in the room?
Oh, that's hard. How can you ask any three drivers? Everyone's going to say themselves.
I'm asking Todd.
I'm the oldest, so I've got the most wisdom in the room. So we're all equally as good as each other in different fields.
I'm going to go with Ainsley.
Ainsley, yeah.
Ainsley's the best driver in the field.
I was going to see if you picked up my trick question.
So technically she's fastest,
yeah.
right? So yeah.
You got any gutters lately, Ainsley, or anything? Or no curbs?
No, I've never got a speeding fine. Never crashed a car.
See?
Yeah.
Really?
No, never. Someone rear-ended me once, but it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Oh, so we've all crashed.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly what they all say. Right, should we get stuck into it?
Let's go.
So we've got a few things to cover off here. I did a GC 500, Boost Mobile GC 500 media launch last Monday.
Yep.
And it was pretty interesting. I thought it was actually a little bit depressing, to be honest. So we went out there and they did like a media call. So they call out Channel 7, Channel 9. I think GT Bulletin was out there. And I think for how good of an event the Gold Coast event is, I felt like it was really underdone from what it could be. Like I was expecting, maybe we go to, like Cali Beach Club or something on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, we book it out and we do like a bit of a launch there, invite all the, influences of Gold Coast and Brisbane and, get them all out there and, make a big event of it. Because honestly, the GC 500 is like our I guess, party event of the year, right? Like it's
Yeah.
you know, Surfers Paradise is the party capital of Australia, really.
Yeah, that's it. It's got that atmosphere that everyone wants to get involved in, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess one of our top 3 events for the year, so you would expect that it'd be a massive thing. But to be honest, I didn't even know it happened. You were talking to me about it this morning and said you did this and that, probably could have been done a little bit better. And I was like, I didn't even know there was a media call on or that there was any sort of event running. So it's interesting. I think bring back the parties. Do you remember 2017, 2018 when we first started co-driving? It was pretty cool. They used to run the event, Miss Gold Coast 500 or something.
Yeah, I think it stopped like one of my first years, maybe like
2020?
Nah, it was earlier than that. Like I feel like
right.
they stopped doing it maybe like 2017 or 18.
Do you remember 2019, Will? When I T-boned you?
Where at?
The first lap?
I don't remember. It's all...
No, I bought you a few drinks that
Oh,
night.
you did too? I forgot about that.
I felt so bad. It was the biggest doozy. Up the inside, past like 3 cars, straight in the door of Will, spun him around.
Really? Yeah. Down after the chicane, there's me just on my merry way. Check the rear view. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to block here. And then I just got smashed.
And wham.
What car were you in?
I was in a MSR rocket back then.
Oh, you were too?
Silver
In
Bullet.
a unit
And,
car?
just come in like a bat out of hell and T-bone Will.
To be honest, I actually should pay you for that because that's actually what gave me my drive because I went back to last and drove back to 7th and then Barry and Betty gave me my contract after that weekend. So
I did you a favour.
yeah, you did me a favour in the end. So
I think
funny
we
how
got
it
like
all
$100
works out.
worth of drinks that night as well.
yeah, that's right. They used to be
Good fun.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. GC's died off not died off fan wise, but just party wise. Like I guess that's happened ever since really IndyCar as well. Like it used to be bigger than 2017, 18, 19, but I would say it's slowly started to become a bit more family orientated and
Yeah, and you think about the demographic of Supercars too. It is family focused, and I don't know, hearing some of the stories that people used to have in their indie parties and stuff, I don't know if you could actually get away with that stuff anymore, to be honest, not in a public field anyway. So, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I just thought it was pretty underdone for what it could have been, you know? So,
Yeah.
And I think the Gold Coast event the last 2 years, I think we could all probably agree, has made a bit of a comeback from, I think, what it was, for a couple of years. It sort of died back down and it's sort of on the up again. Like last year was actually, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I'm very interested this year to see what the Gold Coast event is like because we all know Pete Adderton in this room and they used to obviously sponsor the event, but then talking to him, I believe they used to put nearly 500 grand extra into actually promoting the event, doing activations. They used to have when you flew into Gold Coast Airport, there was all the signage around there. And I believe that was actually, from what I heard from Pete, all of his idea and money that they actually spent additionally to sponsoring the event. So with them not owning Boost Mobile this year, it'd be very interesting to see what the activations are like. And if as much money spent, it's like Adelaide, I guess the government really promote that event, do a good job. So I'm interested to see what they actually, what it's like this year. Hopefully it's as good, but Boost, I got to give it to Pete. They've done a very good job of it over the years, building up that event for the last 2 or 3 years, I think.
Well, time will tell. It's also a very important round too. So
Yeah.
I definitely thought it should have been pumped up a bit more, being the, I guess the start of the finals and everything like that. But
There's me. So if you're listening, Pete, I need more money for America. No, I'm joking. Oh, God.
I thought you were going to start swallowing that microphone there for a minute.
But no, what else has happened? There's been a bit of movement on the grid.
Certainly has, and I think it's going to start getting pretty spicy over the next couple of weeks. It's pretty funny, you watch social channels and, there's going to be a departure and then, straight away, the next day there's going to be an announcement. So, there's probably more movement in silly season than what we probably all expected at the start of the year, but now it's really starting to unfold.
Yeah, Cam Hill we sort of knew about that, like we were saying for a little while. Guess we sort of expected him to go to BJR, but it's an interesting one. I think he deserves. Would you say it's a sideways step or a forward step?
It's a tough one. Guys, I've been there before. I went from MSR to BJR back in 2019 to 2020, so somewhat know what Cam might be going through, but I feel like the teams have changed a lot since that time as well. When I left MSR, it was a single car team. Now it's a 2-car operation. They've been winning races, so you could argue that their competitiveness is pretty good. But we'll see what happens for Cam. But I think he was the first winner of the Toyota 86 championship.
Well, hold on. You're looking at the first winner here.
Oh, well, so maybe
He came second, thank you very much.
Did he win the championship or? I
don't
know.
think he did.
Oh, well, there
Far
you
out,
go.
Todd. Oh,
I'm going to get my
jeez.
facts right before I
Yeah,
come on the
that's
show.
right.
Oh, wait, he raced you, didn't he?
He raced me the first year.
And he had his dampers spun around for more car stuff.
That came out halfway through or something. I don't know if it actually came out, but
No, you heard it
I
here
can't
first,
remember.
by the
Yeah, I heard it
sounds.
here first.
Yeah, but I think you still beat him though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you
of
just-
course. Come on.
So I do wonder if maybe there's like a Toyota link there. Like maybe there's some support from that
Yeah.
potentially. I'm not sure.
He was third in 2016 and second in 2017 in the 86.
And who was first in 2016?
Will Brown?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Todd.
Was was Brock or myself racing in the championship at that point?
Would have smoked you anyway. That's why.
Oh, so we weren't.
No.
Oh, so that's why. Okay, I was just wondering. Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Brock would have out-qualified me. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm guessing. I think Cam's done a good enough job this year. I believe, obviously, he was bringing a bit of sponsorship to MSR over the years, and I think he's done a good enough job that he probably deserved to go somewhere that he's getting paid, or it's a bit easier on him. That he's not having to bring money.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. It's a sign of the times of the sport, though. You know, not every team is financially doing as well as they need to, and unfortunately, as we see time and time again, you know, the teams are relying on drivers to be able to bring that budget, prop the teams up to keep them afloat, and that's becoming the new business model of going racing. And we all know that we all obviously need the money to keep cars on the grid and do what we need to do. But yeah, certainly not like it was back in the day of the heyday of the sports, where drivers were getting, you know, paid quite comfortably, and, you know, life was good because, you know, there was a lot of money in the sport. Whereas now, the commercial dollar in all sports is pretty low. So trying to make a top heavy supercar team perform, you need that, I guess, still that support, unfortunately, to keep the wheels turning.
Would you say that it's come back a little bit? Like, I guess, like, would you say the heyday when everyone was sort of around 2010, it seemed like the sport was, or maybe a bit earlier, but was pretty good. Not going back too far, but seemed like you used to get all right sponsorship. And then around probably when you came in, it seemed like it was actually at quite a tough point, because I remember you had like LDM back in that day. MSR was trying to come in. A few teams that did really need funding, where I feel like with Groves buying in, Blanchard, some of those guys lately buying in, they've sort of propped up a few teams that did need to get support, like Kelly's. Like, you know, Groves have gone and bought them. Kelly's had a lot of cars that was reliant on drivers bringing funding a bit, but
Yeah, I think like the business model of how you run a team has also changed as well, and that's probably seen that swing come around, I guess, from that as well. But, you know, I think like as far as outright teams that are just fully reliant on, you know, bringing sponsorship in, plus the money they get from Supercars for the TV deal and so forth, there's really only two teams that operate like that. Everyone else is underpinned by, you know, multiple backers or a business of their own. So like Grove's got their Grove Hire business and so on, you know. So whereas MSR and BJR are probably the only two teams in pit lane now that are fully reliant on just the money coming in is what's keeping them afloat. And, you know, deals come and go. You know, sponsors are more reliant to come in. They want to strike hot when they want to be seen, and then they disappear, you know. So it's probably very hard for those teams to have that financial stability. I guess that's why they rely on drivers to bring in that little bit of cash to have that little bit of security moving forward.
It's pretty interesting actually, because it's pretty much like two teams now where you have to bring money in. And how many teams you reckon, like in NASCAR, for example, are relying on money coming in for them to race? You reckon, Will?
how many people are trying to...
No, like as in like there's only two teams here roughly now that are relying on drivers bringing funding or basically bringing sponsors to race. But how would it differ to say like NASCAR at the moment, you reckon?
I don't know. I haven't followed so much over there, but like on that level. But I'm guessing there's a lot of drivers that bring...
Yeah, like a sponsor
Budget.
or a part. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting here, like what Todd's touched on, where a lot of the teams are pretty self-sufficient these days, like whether, you know, like they can leverage off their other businesses or vice versa. So actually, it's
I
pretty
think like
interesting.
Todd was saying, not everyone is just getting enough sponsorship to cover the teams in Australia either, but a lot of them, we've had great, I guess, families and all of that, and people that own businesses come in and want to get their businesses involved. It's like Groves. They put Grove on there. They were going to spend some marketing budget through Grove somewhere else, so they spend it in supercars.
Also that B2B element that they get, you know, being able to leverage within their business, and that brings in a whole new wealth of, you know, opportunities to be able to, I guess, get people involved in the racing program. So it'd be like Charlie with Team 18, he's got the forklift business. He can leverage off that and then do deals based off that business that he's got in the background.
B2B is what keeps our sport running.
Correct.
Like many people you find, like even, in our business or anything like that, you end up doing business with people in the sport where I guess football and all of that probably doesn't have that element of B2B. We use fuel, we get Ampol on board, they give us free fuel. Like there's so many elements that keeps, supercar teams running.
That's I guess the tricky thing, right? Because you go to football and it's like, it may be like a 4-hour ordeal at max, whereas our events are spread across 3 days. So there's like 3 days of where you can invite different businesses to come out and then, try to do B2B stuff. And I think that's what we do pretty well is, we have all the, I guess like the corporate suites and all that sort of stuff. And it sort of all works out pretty well. But some people might say from this, you shouldn't, they shouldn't have to, it should just be based off sponsors and, they shouldn't have to leverage your business and all that sort of stuff or, vice versa. But I know plenty of people who are passionate about football and tip heaps of money into football just because they're passionate about it. So, like at the end of the day, it's a hobby for some people and that's fine.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It's pretty common. But I guess also with going back to Cam Hill, with him going there, is that Bryce out?
That's Bryce out, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. And it's probably crazy to look at that because Bryce has probably arguably been, if not the top performer in that team all year. So to lose your top driver in a team, that's got to be a pretty, tough pill to swallow, right?
Yeah, definitely. Statistically, it doesn't really make sense, but yeah.
Well, I guess just going off, SCT, I believe, they like Jackson. I'd say they're going to give him another year. He's only had 1 year, so you probably look at trying to have this as the building year and have another year next year. Obviously, Macca's sort of set. They own the team at the end of the day.
They confirmed he's staying as well.
Macca is?
Yeah. So they confirmed Bryce is leaving.
So Macaulay's leaving. So, and I think Andre, they're always looking as the guy to sort of lead the team. Obviously, his results probably haven't been as high up as you would have expected this year, but I guess that just leaves Bryce. And I guess you saw Middies, once again, we were talking about funding. You saw Middies dropping off the car a little bit. So I'm guessing they're pulling a bit of their funding. And unfortunately, Bryce is the one to drop out. But I don't think he's done too bad of a job for sort of what he's had.
Yeah, he definitely has. I thought he's done a pretty good job for, I guess, where that team's ran on the last couple of years average. Like he's had a few podiums and it was their last podium. So
yeah,
he's been quick at some rounds. Like he was pretty good at Darwin, good at Tassie was good as well. I think that's where he ran pretty well. So
yep. I'm guessing Bryce doesn't have a drive then. Where does Bryce go?
I don't know. There's not really many seats left, is there?
No. Well, I see. Well, on the other thing, Golding announced leaving Premier, which is another weird one. Like I don't know who out there that they get that's better than Golding. Like got more experience, and I know they're not getting the results, but unless old Todd here has ripped up his contract for next year and he's going to race there, I don't know who they get.
Well, I think I guess it'd be interesting.
Or is it the other way around? Like it might be frustration from Golding as well, going like I've been at this team.
That's a good point.
I've been loyal and I'm not getting the results that I want to achieve. And we all know, I think as drivers, we all know what Golding's capable of doing.
Yeah.
He's a proven product. And to see where he's been running probably this year is probably a level of frustration for him as well. So, maybe the shoe's on the other foot. Maybe he's looking for an option where he can go, I need to change of scenery, new environment, and maybe try and reinvigorate himself potentially.
It does happen as well. You just get stale a bit when you get those results, don't you? And you're just like, I need a bit of change. So, yeah, who knows? It would be interesting. I'd like to know if it's come from his side, if he's sort of gone, move it on, or the teams, or it's a mutual thing. But that's interesting.
Would you think Blanchard's would be an upgrade from Premier, you think?
It's going to sound bad, and sorry, Tim, but it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be an upgrade.
Triple A equipment next year.
Well, I don't know if is that happening?
I don't know.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah, it's confirmed.
Well, we've got a bit of an alliance there.
It's confirmed.
Group,
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. It'll be an alliance.
So it's confirmed by Brodie Kostecki.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Yeah, may as well be.
Second by Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's confirmed. I think it'll be. Well, I know Dennis is there, so we did some time with Dennis at Erebus when we were co-driving, and he's a pretty good operator and knows the basics about car racing, and I believe he's the crew chief there. And ever since he's gone there, he's made a big difference this season so far. And we've seen JC, have spurts of speed. Aaron Cameron qualified in the 10 at QR. So I think they'll only get a little bit better as they go on from now, as long as they keep those people in there.
It's sort of amazed me though, because I think that you see how much Pete wants to win at Premier and the effort he's put in and the people he's bought over the years, but it just hasn't sort of come together for
hasn't gelled, has it?
Yeah, it just hasn't gelled. I don't know what it is, but I would have expected them to have multiple podiums and a win by now with the people they've got. Ludo, they've had other people over the time. I think the drivers, like Richie's won Bathurst. I know, what was that, 2 years ago? He did a really good job. Golding's fast. So it's surprising that they haven't got the results that they have. Also buying the 888 support program, like get all our setups and everything there. So it's interesting. So maybe, for Golding, if we move to Ford and if that is true, say they do the customer thing again and buy our setups, maybe it is a little bit of a step up. But yeah, I'm not sure because it seems to me like BRT sort of cruises along. Like they haven't really bought anyone. You know what I mean? They haven't gone and got a big engineer, bought someone from another team.
Yeah, they're just gently growing.
Yeah, that's right.
And they've certainly had their growing pains, and I was certainly a part of all of that back when I was there in 2023. But they've got that capability behind them. Obviously, they're backed by the Cool Drive business themselves. That the family owned and operated. So they've certainly got some fantastic context that they can lean on to keep growing. I guess it's just at what stage do they really want to commit themselves to that next big step? Because it is a big step. You want. I always say, competing is easy, but winning is hard, and, to go to that next level, there needs to be a serious commitment, like you said, investing in, key staff and getting those key engineers on board to really elevate the team. So, it's a team on the rise for sure, but at what stage they're going to get to next year, it's probably the jury's out for that.
Looking for your next ride or reliable servicing without the hassle? Lancaster Motor Group is your go-to destination. Whether you're after a brand new or quality pre-owned vehicle, great finance options, or expert servicing and parts, they deliver. With a focus on customer satisfaction, transparent deals, and trusted brands, Lancaster makes car buying easy and driving worrying-free. Visit lancastermotors.com.au today to explore your options, book a test drive, or schedule a service.
Rightio, so Todd's dropped us for an interview with Bathurst, so we'll have to keep running on for a second, but we'll cover the next couple of points, which is an interesting one and something that I think happens over time, probably when you're not running as good. But I see on Speed Cafe that they've pulled a car out of the museum, or I don't know what museum, but they've pulled his old car out to run again, have they?
Yeah, so he's running the car that he ran at the start of the season, so it's just a different centre section, and he went to, I guess, the same spec that I have, which is the James White Erebus, I guess, chassis. And yeah, so they're going to go back to that. He said he felt more comfortable on that, I believe. So, and just, I guess, a precautionary thing going into Bathurst, I suppose.
So when did he switch to the Erebus chassis?
I think it was before Darwin, or maybe after Perth.
Yeah, okay, because he had the car he's switching to, I believe he had at the start of this year, which was pretty much a brand new car.
Yeah, it was brand new built for this year.
So it's only done 4 rounds, and then he switched into the Erebus car.
Yep.
And he's obviously something, he just wants a change, not happy with it, thinks that his old car's better. So has that gone on, you've been in there, and has that gone on over multiple rounds that they've changed stuff and he thinks that now the best thing is just to switch back?
To be honest, it's pretty hard to say. Like, we've been so inconsistently lately. Like, I think we found some speed last 2 rounds. Like, I felt like at QR, we sort of just, there was a lot of chat outside about parity stuff, and we were just trying to, focus on just being the best Ford. And I think we went to QR with a different mindset and just tried to be the best Ford that we could be, basically. Yep. So, and I felt like in the races, like I was racing you in the races, I felt like I was pretty sort of competitive. Yep. But, like our setup stuff was going left, right, everywhere around. It was sort of hard to keep up. So I think, I don't know, the car's been so different to drive based on the philosophies each round. And yeah, I think it's been a bit of an adjustment for Davo, even from what he was used to driving last year, like their old philosophies. So yeah, not sure. I think he's just like, we showed at Townsville, he was quite fast. Like, qualified on the second row, he was pretty good in the races. You took him out of one race with a tyre rub. So he's had a bit of a bit of bad luck, and at Tailem his wheel fell off and all that sort of stuff. So in quali, so yeah, not sure. Like, they were pretty quick in the race, then the TD got a penalty. So yeah, not really sure, but I guess it's just a precautionary thing going into Bathurst.
Unfortunately, like, I've probably been having a bit of a tougher year. Like, I know maybe the results, like third in the championship doesn't show as tough as what Davo's been having, but Brock's been doing such a good job. And you do get stuck in a bit of a rut sometimes and you just want change. Like, you don't know if it's going to be better, but you're like, okay, I just want to change it to make sure that that's not the problem. And then we can get on to marking the next thing off. It's like my qualifying performance. You go, okay, is it me? I need to adapt. Okay, did we make the wrong change? And you just keep looking at things. And I guess Davo's at that point that, probably far enough into the championship and I guess the results he's getting, it's like, well, what really can we lose by going back to that car? Yeah,
that's right. And like, it's one of those things where, we only have the 13 rounds a year. So you don't change one thing at going into each round and go, oh yeah, we'll see if this is a little bit better. Yeah. You just change everything and, then you can look back after and see, okay, maybe like you can reevaluate afterwards. But yeah, we don't have really that many, rounds to go, and you sort of want to make sure you put your best foot forward going to, I guess, the biggest part of the year, which is Bathurst, right? So, and that car still basically after it finished its last race, just got shifted to the side completely all together as it was. So there was nothing wrong with it.
This is a hard point, I reckon, in a team when you want to switch though as a driver, because your mechanics are working on the car and doing a really good job, and you say, I want to switch cars. So it's kind of hard doing it without saying to your mechanics, you think something's wrong with the car. You know what I mean? Like, I've had this throughout this year where we've gone, I want to change something on the car. So we've changed front clip, rear clip, and all that sort of stuff. But my mechanics, I can sort of, they haven't said it to me, but you can see it's like, why? Because they know they're prepping the car as good as they can. They can see there's no cracks in, obviously, the front clip or rear clip. So it's a bit of a question mark, but I guess the biggest thing is, it'd be weird if he goes and runs really well. Then you got to ask questions and look into what's the improvement really.
To be honest, like, it's kind of funny how it's such a big deal gets made out of it, but like in NASCAR they change cars every race, so it's not really like you go-kart racing and they put new chassis in every round, so it's not really that big of a deal.
But it's funny, this is going back on another one, they build their chassis, I'm guessing, as good as us, to as close to tolerances, and over there the engineers were telling me that in a team they work out that one clip or one center section they have worked out they think is better on a super speedway or something. So they all argue over who's going to get that for that round and whoever thinks they're going to go best. So for us in Supercars, we have one center section for the year, same set of clips for the whole year, unless obviously we have a crash generally. But these guys over here literally think they have good clips for a super speedway, good clips for something else. So it's interesting. It's like going back to go-karts when you used to run a J engine or something, you used to change them out all the time thinking you're going to get a better one. Like, I would be interested to know if that's actually true. Like, are there better? Like, I'm sure there probably is somehow, but over there they do believe that some clips are better than others.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it depends on what tolerance all the stuff's built in. I mean, that's like with the Erebus stuff and I guess what the 888 stuff would be. I mean, because you guys build your own cars, Walkinshaw build their own cars, and I believe the rest are all from Pace or Erebus build their own. Obviously, we have Erebus chassis, James White chassis, but the only reason why we, I guess, get them is because the tolerance is zero. Like, there's no tolerance. He builds them to exactly as they should be. So, and there's always like all these things about them being special and all this type of stuff, but he just does a great job. So, and you want something as you expect it. You don't want a surprise when it gets there. So, and not saying the other ones are like that, but we just know from the past that that's, what you get is what you expect.
Yep. So pretty much Dave will just be running. He'll just get his old center section back, but the same clips he's been running.
Correct.
So it'll just be the center section that's really changed.
Yeah, correct. So it's not really that big of a.
It's not a full car.
No, it's not a full car. I mean, I suppose it could be a full car, but it's still got the same spec, front and rear clip on it, and vice versa. It's not really that big of a deal, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, that'll be interesting. I'll be keen to see how that goes. And another thing that's changed again, and to be honest, I haven't looked into this, haven't done our pre-brief, so I haven't checked to see what's changed, but I think you knew something about it because I saw it in the driver chat, is they've changed the safety car procedure again.
Thank God for that.
Oh, so it's good?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gone back to the original procedure pre-virtual safety car.
What, so we don't push the button anymore?
We don't have to push the button unless they can use it for to pick up an oil bottle or something if they want to during a practice or something like that. But it's gone back to the old method.
So we just our engineer says, there's a crash at the cutting. We know the crash at the cutting, slow down there, and
It's
go
double,
flat out.
yeah, it's double wave through the crash site, and then it's back to normal where through everywhere else.
Do you slow down for a double wave?
Of course you do.
I'm joking. I'm going to
Of course you do.
It's a single wave. No.
Yeah.
But, okay, so it's just back to 2018, 2019 rules.
Correct.
That's pretty good.
Well, it's very easy to understand, which is great. You
Yep.
don't need a PhD in. I wouldn't know what you need a PhD in because it was that silly. But anyways, so it's back to how it should be, which is
So
great.
you're telling me my car shouldn't get rear-ended at Bathurst?
Well, you could do.
Careful what you say here.
Yeah, you could do.
Yeah, right. I didn't even know that. So that's actually, that's what, to be honest, that's good by Supercars because that's what we've all been pushing for as drivers.
Yeah, and as far as I have had a few birdies tell me a few different of how it all come about. It's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, apparently Todd's just walking
Todd's
back in from
you
his.
can join in, Todd.
Come sit down, Toddy.
Anything interesting in the interview?
Oh, nothing juicy, no. No, nothing too extravagant. I'm back.
We've just basically announced that we've gone back to the old safety car process. So we just explained that, and then so little birdie told me that the process of what we went to for Tailem Bend, I wasn't approached. No other driver was approached going into the bend. Didn't really make much sense, the process. Maybe it is used in other categories around the world, but it doesn't mean that it's right for us. And I guess the biggest thing was going to Bathurst and coming around a blind corner, coming into a slow zone. And if you have a different braking zone for, I can go into, say, turn 1 at Bathurst, and I know you have to brake around the 100-metre board.
Yep.
So that's roughly the thing, because we all practice it. We all, that's roughly where we all brake within like 4 metres, the whole category. But if we have to go into a slow zone, into a random part of the track, well, you might brake earlier. Well, Jamie thought he was just going to go flat out till the white line and then rear-ended Scott. But that's the thing. It's all up for, there's a lot of debate of where you could slow down. So it's
like
quite
when you
dangerous.
practice pit lane. Some people are half second quicker into pit lane because they really attack it. Like if it was down Conrod and there was sector line over the crest down Conrod, someone might brake 60, 70 metres earlier than someone else, just depending if they're being cautious. And to react to that's quite hard. Like, I guess I generally just try to offset myself to the car in front. But if you're in a big line of cars, very hard
You think about the closing speed, like the microsector loop on the entry to the chase. The kink there. We're trying to approach speeds of 280 odd kilometers an hour, and also keeping in fact too that, like you said, some people rehearse these things, or some people might be in a different phase of the race.
Yep.
Some people might be more lenient to push, whereas other people are trying to make up time. So all of a sudden you got this big mentality shift of how people approach it as well, which I think that's probably what we saw of the incident just in practice. Imagine that in a race scenario, but fortunately, common sense has prevailed. So as we were all hoping for.
So in the Motorsport Australia rules, the national competition rules called the NCRs, the procedure for a safety car is what we've just gone to now. So it's the 2019 spec style, 2020 spec style. And in our sup-regs, that's where Supercars can dictate what the procedure is. So they dictated their procedure, of how we want the safety car ruling to be done. So it's like the VSC or the slow zones. And apparently going into this event, there's a few people trying to push to get rid of the VSC method and go back to the old system. And there was a lot of pushback from all different sides. Oh, we can't do that. We can't go backwards. And apparently, if you just delete it from the sup-regs, it goes back to the NCRs. So there was an argument basically saying that, well, if I can go to Queensland Raceway and race under Motorsport Australia and XL, and that's the safety car procedure, why does Supercars have to race under something different when we're supposed to be the professionals?
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense, does it?
No, I think some people, I'm guessing, can't accept that their rule didn't work. I'm guessing, you know what I mean? You don't.
Whose rule was it?
Well, I don't even know whose rule it was.
You know who it was?
No, I actually don't, to be honest. Whose was it?
You're the one that's got the story.
I'm guessing I've just
He's
torched
just
someone
to
that I don't even know who I have. But you know what I mean? Like,
usually
usually don't want to take a step back from something that you think was better. So you just keep trying to adapt it until it actually becomes right, which unfortunately we couldn't do with this rule. I think it was just getting too complicated, too hard. I know they do it in other places around the world, but
I think we think about our sport, the way we want to have entertaining racing, we want to have strategy with our pit stops. It's a fine line, obviously, between trying to make the sport a safer place, which they've been trying, but also probably failing to a degree, trying to get that method right. But really until you have like a method with F1 where you've got electronic throttle bodies. You can have the race director basically hit a big red button and put a pause on all the cars. There's no real safer way of implementing how you get cars to slow down, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's a tricky one, but I'm sure it'll keep evolving in time. You know, I'm sure we'll go to another race meeting soon, and there'll be a new process, a new mentality, a new way of trying to do it. So there's something to look forward to.
I hope it doesn't evolve too much. I thought we were going to be wrapped in bubble wrap there for a minute.
Looking to take your ride to the next level? Wheel Pros Australia has you covered. With the biggest range of performance wheels, tyres and accessories, they bring the world's most iconic brands right to your driveway. From Fuel Off-Road and KMC to Rotiform and American Racing. Whether you're chasing off-road toughness, street performance, or that perfect show-stopping style, Wheel Pros has the gear to match. Don't just drive, stand out. Visit wheelpros.com.au today and find the perfect fit for your car.
But I reckon we should get stuck into why Todd's here. So a bit of your backstory. And I got to, see when I first come back to Australia in 2016, I wasn't racing at the time, and I got to see you. Obviously, we're run around a bit then, and then 2017 I was teammates with you at MSR and got to actually know you quite well, and I was racing in the old FG and you were in the T8 VF and had old Wes McDougall, running your car, and got to see, your commitment to racing. And I reckon there was about 4 trillion stickers on that Super 2 car. Honestly,
there wasn't much paintwork left on that race car.
Yeah, no joke. I reckon it would take him 3 weeks to sticker the thing because all he had was like a vinyl cutter, so it wasn't a printer. And he just vinyl cut all these sponsors and stickers, I reckon, for 2 weeks straight. It was
a feature.
Impressive.
Yeah, I think back of the labour I spent making stickers. If I charged out my own labour, I would have been way better off just to get someone to do it for me looking back. But, that was how stingy I was, trying to save every cent that I had, looking back at it all. And that's what it takes if you want to get anywhere in life, innit? You got to roll up your sleeves and have a crack. And that's what we're doing back, especially back in Super 2 days. There wasn't much money available. And when you're a bit of a no-name in the industry, you got to do whatever it takes to try and break the code and try and get in front of the system.
So talk us through, how did you get involved in racing? Because I know Russ, your old man, was into bikes. So how did you end up in cars?
Yeah. My old man, he raced desert racing on 2 wheels and basically broke enough bones in his body to realise that, 4 wheels is a much safer, safer environment for me as a kid. And it was actually my godparents, so they actually had dirt carts and got involved, seeing what that was about. And, I just wanted to go racing. I was a madman on a 2-wheel pushy, racing around home, running around the block. And, basically got my first go-kart, which happened to be a dirt kart. And growing up in South Australia, dirt karting is massive. It's actually bigger than bitumen karting, big fields, obviously you'd race in reverse and forward direction and 2 different style circuits around the same day. The competition was awesome, and basically got thrown in the deep end. I did a year of rookies when I was 7, and then when I turned 8, I started racing in juniors. So I was racing 14-year-olds, I was the young kid on the block, and basically, it was a great way for me to learn because I was thrown in the deep end. It was either sink or swim at a young age, and racing dirt karts was great because having that adaptability, the circuit would always be different every time you put the kart on the track. The setup was never great. So you just drive around what you had. And the cool thing with dirt, the harder you drove, the faster you went. So looking back at that, I think dirt karting taught me a lot at a very young age. And then when I went into bitumen karting, made that transition 5 years later as a 12-year-old. And, the goal was always to end up in supercars. So we had a pretty, for me as a kid, I was very hungry, always wanted to win, whether it was a running race or whatever it was. So for me, I always wanted to win. I was pretty hungry. I was pretty self-motivated, and it was always mum and dad sort of trying to calm me down, don't put so much pressure on yourself, just take it easy. I was like, no, I want to win, So that was always a mentality at a young age. And, the dream started spiraling out of control pretty quick because, my dad, just worked for the railways, and mum was working in a cafe. We didn't have, big business. We didn't have a lot of money behind us. So even in go-karts, trying to race top level in karting was a tough thing to do, and then trying to make that next step into Formula Ford and so on, that's where things started getting pretty tough, and put a lot of strain on all of us as a family to try and make that next step.
And I think the actually I didn't actually realize this, but we'll touch on this for a bit. Do you remember that Shannon's thing that they did, like the next young gun?
No, I don't remember.
Shannon's
I remember
Supercars
what they did.
showdown.
Yeah. Did you do it?
Yeah, I did season 3. So
It's hilarious.
What did he do?
I'm glad we can't like put a clip or anything to it.
I love
yes,
Supercars.
we can.
Shit.
Yes, we
What
can.
happened?
I'll send
it's
Nathan
like
an email.
it's funny looking. Like it was cool, but like somewhat cringe, I guess. But like Cam Waters, he won the first year. He won season 1. That was how he basically got his shot in Supercars.
Yep.
And I was season 3, so I was the season 3 winner. And I was basically this kid still in school, and basically got to work with my idols, which was ironically Will Davison was my coach. So I was on the Will Davison team. So I think there was like 12 contestants, and I managed to progress through the show, and then got to the semi-final, which was basically whoever's fastest in a V8 supercar. So that was my first time driving a supercar, which was a factory-prepared FPR Falcon back then. So that was pretty cool. It was at Quarter Park, coming sideways onto the VHT on the front straight there. I felt like I was going a million miles an hour. But I was racing Formula 3 at that stage. So Formula 3 car to a supercar, the speed-wise, actually wasn't too dissimilar. It was just more the acceleration. So, managed to win the show, won the semi-final, and in the show, I basically won the show by a tenth of a second to Tim Macro. And that gave me my first shot in the supercar. So at that stage, it probably, we laugh about it being, cringy, reality TV show. But to me, it actually gave me my first shot in the supercar. It gave me a foot in the door in the industry, and it actually opened some doors off the back of that because I was supported by the Fujitsu Cool Driver program. Fujitsu were my major sponsor for like 3 years through karting, Formula Ford and Formula 3. And they decided to go in a different direction at the end of that year. So I basically had nothing going for me. And us as a family, we'd already mortgaged the house to try and get through Formula Ford and Formula 3. And that was tough on us as a family. And we were sort of like, well, what are we doing to do now? And we basically actually had the first phone call. I was actually off the back of winning the show, because Cam Waters had just signed with what back then was Tickford.
Yep.
So he signed with them as Super2, so they actually didn't have a car available for me to run, even though Tim Edwards was like, we want to run a car with you, it'd be a great story, having you winning the show, progress through the team, but there just wasn't a car available. So Tim Edwards actually gave me Matt Stone's phone number and said, I know Matt's looking for a driver. That's a front-running car in Super2. I think you'll do really well. So, I still remember I called up Matt, and he said, we've got a car available. And I said, well, what's involved? I want to know more. So I flew up to Queensland by myself. I put my suit pants on, my suit shoes. And, mind you, I'm like just turned 17, straight out of school. I look 12, So I said, I'll meet you at the airport. So Matt turns up at the airport. It's just me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford Mum and Dad couldn't afford the plane ticket to come up with me. So I basically went to the workshop, shook hands with Matt, signed a contract. It was a 7-round deal. We couldn't afford to do round 1. And I come home and said, Mum and Dad, I said, well, we're doing it. Dad goes, well, what the hell? Like, how? Like, how are we going to do this? So, it was a pretty crazy time. As I said, we lost a major sponsor with Fujitsu. We were committed for the year. Matt didn't know we had no money because we're all chips in. We're doing this. And we actually had to mortgage the house again for the first round, and the loan didn't get approved until after practice 1 at Adelaide. So it was a pretty frightening time as a family for me driving. There was a lot of pressure for different reasons going on behind the background. So it's one thing driving a race car, driving a supercar for the first time at Adelaide 500 on the streets, but with all that external pressure going on in the background, it was tough. And I guess that's where the fundraising started coming in, because we were literally scrounging the smallest deals possible. It didn't matter if it was $200, $500, $1,000. We were cramming stickers on this race car to go racing. We started a membership platform. We were starting to get people investing. It was $20 a membership or something to have your name on the car. Just every cent would count, and it got us to each round. Round by round, we're just surviving. And 4 years later, we finally won the championship, which was a goal that we wanted to achieve, but we just had no idea how we're ever going to be able to financially make it, I guess.
So how many sausages do you reckon you sold?
How many of us sold? It would be tens of thousands of, I'm talking like tons worth of sausages. Like, we basically
do you
used to
remember those?
buy.
Yeah,
like,
I do.
It was like 30 kilos of snags a week. I think from memory we used to buy.
The dedication though, that's actually amazing. I'd heard the story, but I hadn't heard the mortgaging and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Like a lot of us have gone, oh yeah, we put in a lot of effort and did a lot to get there. But to be honest, compared to you, we did sweet F all at the end of the day.
Look, and everyone's got their own journey, right? Everyone's got their own battles growing up as a kid, but. You know, for me, I wouldn't still have it any other way because it taught me so much about life. You know, and Dad always said, he said, son, you can do anything you want. You just got to roll up your sleeves and have a crack. If you have a crack and you commit yourself to it, it'll happen. And, you know, I was very ambitious as a kid. I always had like, I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this work. So, you know, having that mission lock sort of mentality where there is no second option. There is no plan B. I always just said, I don't want to talk about plan B because if you talk about it, it will happen.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
So that was always the mindset, I guess. But the snags alone.
Credit to your family though, how much effort they put in. Like even your sister behind the scenes, I see Shu was involved, and all those people. It takes a lot of toll on the whole family to actually put in that amount of effort to make it all work. Like 4 years of obviously that amount of effort scrounging around to make that money work to then win the Super 2 title. It would have, I guess, felt like it would have felt like it was worth it at the end of that.
100%. It was like, that was probably the coolest thing, that victory in 2017, because, you know, knowing how many people that had contributed to that victory, you know, I get to stand on the roof and celebrate, but, you know, see mum and dad there, they put their, you know, they've sacrificed, you know, essentially everything. You know, they'd never had a social life. They never had extravagant dinners or anything. They never celebrated their birthdays or anything. They put all their chips into me to go racing. And yeah, my sister, she was the one doing all my sponsorship proposals, doing my media releases, all that sort of stuff. So that was what, I guess, that's what makes it, you know, when you do this as a family, you look back at those and go, you know, at the time it felt like it was, you know, the world was against us, but looking back at it now, it's such a cool memory. You know, that'll last a lifetime for me. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way, I guess.
Yeah, you'd be close to like your family, you wouldn't get that time back, but it would have been a good time together actually doing it all.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as I said, you know, you don't get to do these things often in life. So for me, it was cool to do something that we all loved, we enjoyed, and we did something that a lot of people said wasn't possible. So that makes it even more fulfilling, I guess, looking back at it all as well. Yeah.
So the sausages, I want to know. What sort of profit did you have? Like if you went and did a sausage sizzle on the weekend.
Here comes the car sales.
Yeah, I want to know what you'd profit out of a sausage sizzle for a weekend.
Not as much as a car sale, but that much will.
But like was it a couple of grand that it made it worthwhile?
No, it started out small, you know. Like we started up at our local hardware shop at like Glen Mitre 10. We're selling snags for $2. We had a snag and a can of Coke for $4. You know, that was a special, you know. We even had egg and sausage sandwiches for something different if you wanted for a $5 special. So, you know, I guess, you know, we looked after. We were sponsored by a sausage company, Slope and Son Snags, so they still support me today.
Yep.
And they were locally based, and yeah, we were sort of making $200 to $300 a day.
Yep.
In sausages, so that was better than a day's work in my opinion. You know, I had an apprenticeship, so I was like, well, I could work as an apprentice, or I could do 2 or 3 sausage sizzles a week.
Yep.
And then that's better than a full-time wage.
Yeah.
And I get to then spend the rest of the week being a salesman, annoying every business that I can think of during the week, basically cold calling people going, give me money, I want to go racing, basically. So, you know, and then it's sort of, you know, we grew a reputation. You know, people started liking our snags. It was a tasty treat on a weekend, and all of a sudden, you know, we're making between $500 to $800 a day.
Yep.
So that's where it started becoming more beneficial to do more of them, and that's when we started doing 2 or 3 a week at one stage. So, yeah, there's a lot of snags looking back at it all.
Oh, that's crazy. So I guess like looking back on it now, you finish, what was that, 2017, you win the Super 2 title.
Yeah.
And then what options were there at the end of 2017? Like where'd you go from there, MSR?
Yeah, so I stayed at MSR. So I was at MSR from 2014 all the way up to 2019. So I did 4 years in Super 2 and then 2 years in main game. Basically spent my whole childhood, or I guess growing up, you know, as an apprentice and working in the workshop, basically living in the workshop floor, living with Matt Stone himself.
Yep.
Spent, you know, so much time at that workshop. But there was no option essentially to step up into main game, and we sort of saw that happen. You know, it was a bit of a boys' club back in that era, I guess. You know, drivers that were trying to break through out of Super 2 into main game. There was just never any spots available.
Yep.
You know, you think back then there was, you know, Lowndes was on the grid, Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Tander, Rick Kelly, Todd Kelly. You know, like the list goes. Like it was a decked out, you know, main game grid. And, 2016, we saw Gary Jacobson. He won the Super 2 title. He couldn't step up. There wasn't a spot available. And I started thinking about this, towards the end of 16, I knew that we had a good chance to, prove ourselves in 2017. It was my 4th year. That was the time to perform. And I sort of thought, well, if I don't be smart about this, what are we actually going to achieve? I win the championship and then what?
Yep.
So, this became apparent to me quite early throughout 2017. And I sort of started working on stuff in the background going, well, the plan for me was always to step up. And if there's not going to be a spot available, how are we going to do this? How am I going to open a door? And I basically started egging on Matt. And I said, I think we could, if we do things right, there's no reason why we can't run as a main game team. So why don't we? And Matt was like, I don't want that stress. Super 2 is one thing, but to go to main game, you're basically doubling your commitment. Financially, it's huge. A lot of risk involved. So I started working with the investors that we have with our Super 2 program. Jason Gomersall being one of the key identities there from iSeek. He'd been basically underpinning majority of my Super 2 program at that stage. And I just kept teasing the ideas. So this is what I want to do. I think we could pull it off. We'll get this key staff. We had some good people in our small little team, good equipment. Let's do things properly. And it all sort of come about probably middle of the year. Things started getting serious. And I said, well, let's use our wild card opportunity to really showcase what we can do as a team. And if we can get that, if we can do well, then we'll hopefully get some investors on board to then be able to commit to us for the next year. Wildcard was a pretty good success. I think I qualified like 18th or 19th out of 28 cars that weekend. So we qualified in quite a few main game guys. We strategically did it at our home test track. So we had a few things going for us, but that was, we tried to basically put everything in line to give ourselves the best opportunity for me to make this work. And we sort of got people involved, on board with the dream of what we had going. And then Matt was sort of like, oh, okay, maybe we could do this, So all of a sudden there was not one driver opening available, which I was like, well, I knew this was going to happen. Yep. And we were leading the championship. I'm like, well, let's just make it happen. Let's do this. Let's go all chips in. Again, putting more financial heartbreak into the family and into the system. But then we actually managed to secure license Supercars race entitlements contract together with Brodie. So I actually met with him at the Gold Coast 600 round just after Bathurst. We basically almost agreed to terms, but the deal wasn't done yet. And then we actually went to the Newcastle 5. So the last round of the Supercars Championship, I was fighting for the Super 2 title. No, I still remember it. I just qualified on pole for the first race on Saturday, and I couldn't be in the meeting because I was during qualifying, but I got Matt to meet with Brodie and his team, and we just secured the racing entitlements contract. So all of us, so it was myself, Gomersall, and Matt, and we've basically been working on that in the background to try and get that deal across the line. So I didn't even, getting the pole in Super 2 was one thing, but getting that racing entitlements contract, that was like, hallelujah, we're going main game racing, So that was a really cool weekend. And then to win the championship and then celebrate with everyone and then basically announce to the whole team post event that, hey, we're going main game, we're going big. So be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. That's exactly what happened for me in 2018. It was a massive baptism of fire. Rookie driver in main game, rookie team. We had staff issues. We had car issues. It was brutal. It broke me, honestly. It was tough, but that's what we had to do, to try and break into the sport, to try and go main game. I couldn't just keep running Super 2. I'd achieve what I needed to achieve, and my time was now. But, it was a tough way to do it, but back then it was the only way we could do it, essentially.
Yeah. Far out. You've had a journey.
Yeah.
I thought I knew a fair bit of it, but I knew not much at all. So, that's amazing. And then I guess from there is you got in 2018 and 19, I guess we'll quickly cover, but you're in 2018, had a tough year.
Last in the championship. Best result of 13th in the last round of the year. Like, it was brutal.
And you all had already committed to go to 2019?
Yeah, so it was always a 2-year deal with Matt. We're all, as I said, it wasn't, we never really had contracts back then. It was just, we were all so invested in just trying to be better as a team. So, we had the typical handshake agreement. We knew financially the targets that we all needed to hit, and we worked together on that. I was very much as part of I felt like I was very much just as part of the team as what Matt was. Even though it was Matt's team, I was still, we're all in on the same goal, I guess. So, it was a very different structure to probably what the team is now. They're very prim and proper. They got basically a full-blown customer program with drivers that bring some budget. They've got their own budget and so forth. But, back then it was just a very small operation, just trying to make something happen.
All right. And 2019, obviously, you finished with the team at 2019, but what were your results like then, and how, I guess, why did you guys separate, and what was the reasoning there and all that sort of stuff?
A few reasons. We had a really good year in 2019. We reinvested in the Triple Eight customer program. We actually out-qualified, I think, the first 4 rounds of the year. We actually out-qualified Win Cup, I think, 3 out of the first 4 rounds or something.
All right.
So the start of the year was really strong. Between Wes and I, we're sort of coming out with our own little ideas of how we can make the car quick, and we're sort of starting to get some runs on the board, which was cool. For us, a good result was like a top 10. If we got a top 10, that was like a win. Single car team, smallest operation in pit lanes. So that was cool. And then had a couple offers on the table throughout the year. Once teams knew that I was on the out, because unfortunately my time was up, and I had a pretty brutal conversation at the time with the team, and it honestly broke me. Like, I was devastated, because you put so much effort into trying to make this dream happen, and the team had to go in another direction if they wanted to survive. They were expanding to 2 cars to try and get more money into the program, and they basically needed paid drivers to keep the team afloat, and I wasn't that guy. So we had to call it quits, but we left on good terms. I still get along with Matt Stone really well now. There's no issues with that from that end, but it was just one door closed and a few more open. So that was quite a cool time, because all of a sudden I was like, put myself on the market. I haven't done this for ages. So I actually signed a deal with Walkinshaw. So I was actually signed with Walkinshaw for 2 years. So I was going to be Chaz's teammate. This was all kept under wraps. It was going to be all secret squirrel stuff. And then that was when Walkinshaw just lost their Mega Fuel sponsorship. So within 2 weeks of signing a deal, sitting down with Bruce Stewart and Ryan, deal was ripped in half. So then I was on the outer again. And then ended up at BJR a couple of weeks later.
I'd never even heard about that.
I didn't know about that either.
No, so that was that was basically going to be my breakthrough moment in my career. I was going to be a paid driver for the first time in the sport.
Wow.
And, that was going to be quite exciting, but never come to fruition, because they lost the sponsor and they had to get back to the drawing board.
So how did
that wasn't me?
I don't know if you can talk about it in contracts, but how'd they get out of that? Did they have a 1 month bloody get out clause, or how do you even get out of that?
I can't remember the details, but
they pretty much just said, no, not happening.
Yeah, it wasn't happening. So it was a tough pill to swallow, and we tried to make it work, but it just, it wasn't going to happen. So, fortunately I was talking with Brad at the same time, and signed up with them, driving car 14, and obviously then we entered the world of COVID. So that was a whole new, for all of us,
Yep.
a weird time in the sport. But that's part of the journey, right? You have deals that, come and go, and in my sport, my time in the sport, it's probably been a bit of a journey. It's been probably more down and up for my liking, but I've probably I've been really backing myself, knowing that if I just get the right opportunity, things might turn around. And it's funny, I remember saying to Ryan at the end of 2023, I said, my career might start when I'm 30. I just got to survive somehow. I got to work out how I can just stay in the game, keep myself relevant, and try and get some runs on the board to reinvigorate myself, which I feel like I've started to do now.
I feel like I'm skipping ahead here, but this is the question I asked Brodie last time: is there's main game seats out there now? Why are they not calling you? Have they? Well, I guess you might not be able to say if they have been, but I can't understand how you're not on the grid next year after your Tailem Bend standout and probably what you've done previously. You've won Super 2. I think you've got experience with pit stops, all the stuff, the experience you need to be a front runner and not make mistakes, and you're obviously fast. So if I'm Premier, Blanchards, any of those guys, I can't understand why they're not on the phone.
Nor do I. Yeah, the phone hasn't rang, but that's, I think it was after we won Bathurst last year, and I think Brodie was said, I can't believe no one's given you a call yet, but it's, that's okay. I'm happy doing what I'm doing as well. If I keep teaming up with BK and we keep winning races, then life's pretty good for me. I'm happy with that, but there's no word of a lie. For me, I still feel like there's things I want to achieve in my sport, in the sport, I should say. I always wanted to win a race on my own terms. Being a solo driver, I think that would be a cool highlight to achieve. Winning Bathurst obviously doesn't get any bigger than that. Thanks to you, big fella. That was phenomenal. But to I guess achieve the things that I wanted to achieve as a solo driver, that there's still a burning desire for me to do that. So when the right opportunity comes, I'll certainly look at it and have a go at it. But as it sits right now, there's nothing on the table.
Yeah. I guess that unfortunately for you, it was probably also an era thing. Like if you'd done the things you'd done, I think now, like you know what I mean? It's sort of
100%.
when you do it. If you'd done it now, there's a fair few seats opening right now. I don't know if there's enough talent right now to fill it from what's looking like. A few people just are trying to get, I guess, jump between teams. They're getting a Golding to go to Blanchards and that. But I think if you'd done what you'd done and won the Super 2 championship now, you probably would have found it's a little bit different. Like there would have been doors opening. But the hardest thing is it's getting in with a good team at the start. Obviously, you guys did a great job to make it happen and you know, get Matt to run a team and do everything. But like you say, you're starting off with a rookie driver, 1-car team.
You set yourself up to fail.
Yeah, pretty much.
Essentially. And look, it's funny. I think, oh man, wish I'd done things differently. But at the time, reality was that was the only option that seemed logical. So, you know, you can't look back at what could have been. But yeah, definitely there has been a massive mentality shift, I think, from the team's point of view, taking a punt on the younger kids, you know, like even like what Barry did with you two guys, you know, basically putting you into a competitive outfit and proving people wrong that it can be done. And I think a lot of people took a lot of motivation from that. Well, maybe it is worth taking a risk. And it doesn't always work, I don't think. But I think the cars are close enough now, especially the Gen 3 product. You know, the cars are so similar, whereas back when I was trying to get into main game, we still had twin springs. We had various ideas of front uprights. You know, the cars were pretty goofy back then compared to what they are now. So, just as you said, different era, different times, and still racing. So life's still good. So I'm happy.
So I guess we should go to. So you finish up your year at Blanchards, which was 23, right?
Yeah.
And how was that season? Because you were actually the front running forward for a few events. I remember Sandown specifically. You put it in the shootout, I believe. You were qualified 4th or something.
Yeah, qualified 4th, and like the start of the year, we had a fast car, even though we had the Mustang. Like we were either the first or second fastest Mustang.
I remember
for like the first 3 or 4 rounds. We had a really strong start, and again, we were a single car team. We had like 4 full-time people working in that operation. It was a very small program, but you know, it was going okay. But then we had a big turnover in staff. We basically lost all of our key staff middle of the year. Like we as a team hit rock bottom. Had to start again. I was calling friends, you know, going, "Hey, can you engineer a car for a weekend?" So I had my mate Sheldon leave his trucking job, flew in for the race weekend, literally like a weekend warrior, and he was the main guy, basically trying to steer the ship. You know, for Sheldon and I working together. So it was cool as a challenge, but it just felt like we just had our backs up against the wall. Like we just, again, unfortunately, felt like we were set up to fail. But
you just love a shit fight, don't you?
Yeah, I go like, how do I inherit this? You know, like how does this happen to me? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. I don't know. But like it was just one of those things, and it didn't work out. They were looking at again growing the team, going to 2 cars, and they took on obviously the punt of wanting to invest in youth, which was Aaron Love, and then JC had his bag of cash with Snowy River, and that sort of pushed me out the team. So I still remember I was pushing obviously stay main game at that time, and I was still hungry and motivated, but I was like, what am I achieving? Like it felt like me personally, like I wasn't in the fight to win a race or even be on a podium. Like a top 10 was a good day and everyone was happy with a top 10. I'm just in the back of the shed going like, why is everyone happy with a top 10? Like, so what are we doing here? Like, why are we investing so much time and effort to be 10th? You know, like for me, that wasn't good enough. So I remember I had the meeting with John, and John was really good. He sat me down. I think he wanted to keep me, but also couldn't keep me. And I sort of walked out of the meeting going, well, good. Like I'm happy this is done. And that for me, I think that was a sign to go, well, okay, something's not right. If I'm happy about losing the drive that I worked so hard for to try and achieve this, to be in this status, and to lose it like that, and to be happy that I've lost it, I thought, well, something's not right. So, and ironically, talk about doors closing and opening. That was I still find it quite eerie. It's like, was there a bug in a room? Because I had a phone call. I had a message from Barry Ryan 20 minutes later after that meeting with John Blanchard. Shut that door and literally walking back to the workshop where the cars were at, and then had the text from Barry saying, "Hey, Brodie says that you might be on the market as a co-driver. Do you want to come drive for us?" So you talk about sliding doors moment. That was as eerie as it gets.
Yeah. I was actually just about to ask that. I said, so basically, so then you end up co-driving with me. Then you do the first 2 rounds of the year. How were those first 2 rounds? Probably weren't expecting to be, I guess, jumping in my shoes.
No, you threw me straight in the deep end then, brother. I tell you what,
I was just a plan to win Bathurst.
Yeah, that's it. Method to the madness, I guess. But it's cool about it, quite ironic. I was sort of at that stage going, what do I do now with my life? I was I just signed up with working with the guys at TFH Hire with the new racing program. I had an empty warehouse, basically trying to turn it into a race team with the Trans Am stuff, and that was cool. And then obviously, the whole situation unfolded where I was then jumping behind the car. I had number 1 on the car for the test day, and it's going, well, this is crazy, like how have I ended up here? I'm meant to be the co-driver. So yeah, that was quite cool though, because for me it was like, oh, I finally got my shot to actually drive something that's competitive, front running equipment. And obviously, it was 2 rounds in, but I think after the second round, I was 7th or 8th in the championship, and I felt like there was more in it, just hadn't quite clicked yet. I think at Bathurst, we qualified inside the top 5, and there was signs of pace there, but just hadn't come to life just yet. But that was cool. And then obviously, then teaming up with you, winning Bathurst, the rest is history, I guess. It was method to the madness, taking that side step, reinvigorating myself, and then to go team up with you, you're a wizard at the mountain, and made it look easy.
Yeah, that was a pretty special moment for me winning that race, because obviously I knew this whole situation of his, getting into supercars and stuff. So I remember getting out of the car and I was more emotional about winning with you more so than winning the race, because I'm a cocky son of a bitch. I always knew I was going to win at Bathurst at some point in my career, but to see the emotion on your face and through your family, that was pretty special to me. But I guess what's been the biggest difference from, I guess, your point of view? Now you've done 2 years, so you did the first year with Erebus as a co-driver with me. Obviously, we did Sandown and Bathurst. We're really competitive at both. We've just done the Bend now at DJR. So you've had a bit of an insight into working in 2 top-level teams now versus where you've been. What's been the biggest difference to you?
I think there's definitely, when you've got confidence on your side as a team, the team actually believing that you can win, and that brings out a whole new level of, I guess, ambition in a team to be able to do better, be better. Whereas when you're running out in the back of the field, the team gets demotivated. They drag their feet at the workshop, and they sort of go, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we working late at night, achieving what we're achieving? That's probably one part of it. Success breeds success in our industry, and as drivers, confidence breeds confidence. The same for the people back in the workshop, in the factories, doing the hard work, I guess. But it's probably also just the commitment, wanting to win. As a team, I felt like in the past, teams were just happy to be seen, be on the grid, and just survive. But the mentality was never to win. They say they want to win. They say they want to win, but as I said before, there's a difference between competing and winning. And there's a massive step. What it takes, the drive from the top of the team, I think, is the biggest part too. You need as a team, the person that's steering the ship, they need to be looking at every element in the workshop, at the track, understanding how can we make something better. It doesn't matter if it's, polishing the tanks on the transporter. What can we make to look better, be better? And there's a yardstick there. There's the best teams in pit lane. So if that's the bare minimum, why aren't we doing that? So that was always for me, there's a standard there. Why can't we replicate it? It's actually, in some ways, some of it's quite simple.
It's pretty, because I guess there's always...
it's quite complicated, obviously, to get to that level
it's very
financially and all the rest that goes along with it.
I guess the simplest way to probably put it, I guess, from our point of view, is that there's always a lot of finger pointing going on when something isn't going quite right, when really the person that's in charge of running their team, at the end of the day, it's always that person's fault, because you put those people in that in those roles.
And you talked about before, you get set up to fail. Us as drivers, we're basically glorified contractors. We come in, we do our job.
You're the fall guy.
So if you didn't do a good enough job, the way to, I guess, maintain status as a team, we've got rid of him. He was the bad blood. We'll get the next guy in. Whereas they're never, sometimes they feel like the case, well, why aren't they looking at what they're doing? Why can't, I'm seeing what they should be doing better. Why aren't they doing that? So, that's the game we're in, I guess.
Yeah.
Not every team is perfect. It's funny, even, I've been with some small teams. I've been with the smallest teams in pit lane, and even coming to obviously with Erebus last year, now DJR this year, your problems are different. There's still problems in teams. Life's not perfect. It's funny how each team's got their intricate battles going on. Obviously DJR is quite top heavy. There's a lot of stuff. You could almost argue that it's clunky because there's so many people on the workshop floor. So again, your problems are different. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows at the top. But I think it's just that strive to be better and invest how to be better. Back the people that you got. Like look at Triple Eight. They've got some of the longest serving employees in the business. They've been with that team for 1 to 2 decades, which I think that says a lot for obviously the way the team operates, but obviously, they get the success off the back of that, keeping those good people in place for a long period of time.
I think Triple Eight invest in people, but invest in culture a lot.
They're
They're massive on their
culture.
culture. Like it's just making sure that you look after everyone who's around you. No one's treated as less than someone else. If it's the tyre guy to Duddo to Jamie, everyone's treated as equal. And I think that's a massive thing since joining there. I firmly believe, and I know that a lot of people in high roles in Triple Eight have been offered more money to go other places, but I guess they probably don't see the vision there and maybe the culture, and they love where they are, so they stay where they are. And to have that in a business, I think is very hard to get, not only in racing, but just in general life, because generally a lot of people, I guess, don't have that in a business. So straight when they get an offer for little bit more money, they go, hey, I'm going to jump. And, it might be greener on the other side, where I think people at Triple Eight don't believe it's greener on the other side. They love
and money doesn't fix all your problems in life, right? Like, people go, why aren't you a full-time driver? It's like, well, you could get paid more money, whatever. It's like, well, I actually want to have fulfillment in my job, and that would be the same for the guys at Triple Eight. If they're winning races and having success, well, why wouldn't you want to be doing that?
Yep.
So, exactly.
Well, that's been a pretty amazing story. But I can't believe it. I hadn't heard a lot of that. The Walkinshaw one blew my mind. So
I didn't actually know
that's
that
going to
at
be
all.
out on
You
Speed
kept that
Cafe.
quiet.
You've got a few Speed
Mic
Cafe
drop.
articles for us
Yeah.
next week, eh? I reckon we got a few.
Yeah, I'd say this is our best pod yet. to be
Yeah,
honest.
I
It's
Lucky
been
girls
awesome.
heard it
Actually,
here
you know what?
first.
I'm going to shake your hand, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
See, I'm still looking after you.
I feel awkward
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I don't now.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
No, that's cool. Well, I guess, will you generally do this segment?
Yeah, so we've got our important segment. It's our young gun shout out. So you got to pick a young gun that you may have raced recently or recently.
No, definitely. Ainsley gave me the bait for this one a bit earlier, so I had a bit of time to think about it. But one young lad that's doing a ripper job at the moment is Blake Tracy.
I knew you were going to say that.
And he spanked me at the Bend at the last Trans Am round. So credit where credit's due. He's a great young kid. Sort of seems like he's got the family working behind him behind the scenes as well, which sort of feels like I'm seeing a younger self. I sort of feel like I'm the proud dad. I saw him win his first race at Tailem Bend, sitting behind him in Park Fermé there, and you could see the joy in the family and himself. So that was pretty cool. He's doing great guns. He won on the weekend in the TA2 series as well. So he's definitely a talent that I think we're going to see on the rise in the future, hopefully.
And what team does he run with? Is he with you guys, or who's he with in?
No, different team.
Yep.
His main mechanic's actually my old main mechanic from BJR. Right. They're doing a great job. So, good to see and wish him all the best.
No, that's great.
That's a good shout out.
Good one.
All right, we got 3 quick questions to wrap it up.
Yep.
So quick, only like small answers from you guys.
Okay, sorry.
No, I feel like every time we do Q&A, I say quick questions and then they go for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, fair.
If you could pick one record to break in supercars, what would it be? Like, sky's the limit, you decide, and that's a record you break. You can pick one.
Biggest win at Bathurst.
Like,
Most
margin?
like by margin,
Yeah, okay.
because I just want to win Bathurst.
That's not going to happen. Not in modern
what did
supercar.
it? Oh yeah,
It's
true.
like 6 laps, wasn't it? Brocky?
6 laps.
Yeah, he would know. He's like
Oh
a bloody
damn it!
thing.
Biggest shootout margin. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Well,
you're
you
a
can't
prick.
say it now.
What about you, Todd?
Most Adelaide 500 wins.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought one of you would say more than 7 championships.
Oh, I was that was going to be you stole that.
You just took
yeah.
Brodie's.
Yeah,
Oh,
No,
thanks.
he just
I
said
mean-
he was doing
No,
the same
but
as
I
me.
was. He
greedy.
took that, and I was like, I'll say most championships.
What's yours, Ainsley?
Yeah, best social media performance.
Actually, no, I'll
already
change
got
mine
it,
to
so-
most consecutive Bathurst wins.
Ooh.
That'll be.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah. Well, what is it? Ding. What is it? Come on, you should know this.
Most what?
Consecutive.
Consecutive.
Yeah.
Ooh. I
Quick,
don't know if
Ainsley,
it's-
get
I don't
that.
know if
You're
it's
done.
more
Next
than-
question.
it'd
You're
be
done.
no
You
more than
failed.
3.
All right. So next
No, we've
question.
Ainsley's
I'm
looking
trying to
up
look
now.
it up.
She's on ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Right there.
Philly
Peter
GBT.
Brock and Larry Perkins was 82, 83, 84.
Oh, so 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we can do
Craig
it.
and Jamie were 3 as well.
Not happening.
No, we'll do it.
Yeah. Next one. Come on, quick, Ainsley.
Who has the best chance of being an underdog combo team that could win Bathurst?
Brodie Kostecki and Todd Hazelwood. Underdogs. Best underdog chance.
I'm going to say Percat and Slade.
Who's with Jack LeBrock?
Jared Hughes.
Jared Hughes, yeah. I reckon Cooper and Job.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they did a good job at thingy.
Yeah, I reckon Cooper and Job are the underdogs there. And they're like, Erebus is always fast at Bathurst.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chaz Mostert and Fabian Coulthard.
Yeah, real underdogs.
You're such an idiot.
Last one, Broncos or Storm in the grand final?
Broncos.
Storm.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, we have to say
Oh,
Storm.
fired. How good was the game last night, the Broncos?
I
Anyone watch
officially
it?
do not watch any of it.
I don't watch
So.
NRL.
God, it was so good. Go the Broncos.
No, go Storm.
I was thinking about going.
Storm's going to win.
Well, me and Brodie meant to go to... Well, you're coming to Danny Ute Muster this weekend. Brodie's saying he's got a little cough, so he's letting me know he's going to pull out. But on the way back, we're like, we should stop in and watch the grand final.
From where? Like, get tickets?
Yeah.
How are we going to... Isn't there like 8 of us?
I don't know. You know people, don't you, Ainsley?
Oh, yeah.
Storm's going to win
Wacky
anyway.
magic, Ainsley. Yeah.
Righto. Well, thanks for coming on, Todd. That was an awesome story. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. So,
No,
really
my
cool.
pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
on
thanks
the
for
chat,
coming in.
boys. It's good.
And onto the mountain, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Bring on the big one.